Hello there, and welcome to this video about the Legend of Zelda. I'm currently doing a project where I go over the lore of the classic 3D Zelda games, from Ocarina of Time to Skyward Sword, in chronological order. This will not follow the official timeline as detailed in the Zelda Encyclopedia and the official Zelda websites, but this timeline instead, the extended child timeline. If you want to know more about why I do this, I made a video on this and the wider history of the Zelda timeline that I will link in the description. This video will also contain spoilers for the following Zelda games. In this first video, I will go over the very start of the Zelda timeline, starting at the creation of the world by the Golden Goddesses through the events of Skyward Sword, first game chronologically thus far. This period of the timeline marks the origin of many staples of the series, such as the Triforce, the Master Sword, and the very cyclical nature of the series' history itself. It's a primordial era that ends with the founding of the Kingdom of Hyrule, sometime after Skyward Sword, which also marks the end point of this video. Part of this video will also require some inference and interpretation on certain lore details, which will be clear from when certain language is used to describe it as possibilities instead of downright fact. In the earliest beginnings of the Legend of Zelda series, before time and space existed, there was nothing but a chaotic void of vast nothingness. Occasionally, things would begin to take form within the void in the form of blue energy that coalesced into the first things. However, these crystals would be devoured by Null. A primordial being, Null desired the world in its entirety and consumed all life in the void indiscriminately. They found the void a pleasant place and thought all was in the right order. However, the three golden goddesses, Din, Nehru and Feyror, who originated from the heavens themselves, could not abide by this state of affairs and decided to create the light world in order to seal away Null. They thus descended on the void, and each played a part in creation. Din, the goddess of power, used her strong flaming arms to cultivate the land and create the red earth. First plant life also appeared at this time, tying Din to the seasons and nature. Next, Nehru, the goddess of wisdom, created the laws of science and magic by pouring her wisdom into the earth. This gave rise to the skies and celestial bodies of the world. Finally, Feyror, the goddess of courage, produced all life forms that would uphold the law from her rich soul, giving rise to animal life and, presumably, sapient life. After the goddesses finished their work, they left the light world and left behind a golden triangle that was forged from their own power. This was the Triforce, and it is unknown why exactly the goddesses created it. It served as the foundation of the world, as without it, the world would crumble. As such, the Triforce was left behind to govern the land and uphold the reason of the world. It was also speculated that the Triforce was left behind to give hope to all the mortal beings of the land, as gods were unable to use the powers of the Triforce. It would namely grant the wish in the hearts of those who touched it, albeit if the person who did so fulfilled certain requirements. The most significant of these was that users of the Triforce had to have the innate quality of a balance of wisdom, power and courage in their heart. This is because the Triforce was a pair of scales that weigh those three forces. If they are out of balance, the Triforce would split into its three component pieces: Triforce of Courage, Triforce of Wisdom, and the Triforce of Power. These pieces also held titles known as the Forger of Strength, Keeper of Knowledge, and the Juror of Courage. The one who touched the Triforce would be left with the part they most believed in, while the others would go to those newly chosen by the gods. The parts would manifest as emblems on the backs of their hands. Only if the three parts were brought together and reunified again, would the potential user of the Triforce be able to get their wish. Strong character was also needed to wield the Master Force or true force of the full Triforce. The stronger wish that someone held, the stronger the Triforce would express that wish. However, the Triforce did not make moral judgments, because only the gods can do that. The Triforce could thus grant both good and evil wishes. The Triforce was likely made of the life force of the three goddesses themselves, this constituting as a symbol forged of their power. This is a sacred power they also imbued in every living creature of the light world, and which can manifest physically in several forms, such as Sand of Hours, gratitude crystals, or most commonly, force gems. The latter two were known to form when people were made happy, causing their spirits to emit their life force and crystallize it into a physical form. Given the similarities in name and appearance between the Triforce and Force gems, it seems likely that the Triforce was made of the same underlying life force, which thus also served as an important component of the light world. The sun was a source of much force as well, and could energize different forms of force. The world itself contained Hylia's realm, which would later become the Kingdom of Hyrule, but also many other lands that would become countries in their own rights at certain points. North and northeast of Hylia's realm were large landmasses. Other places in the Light World included the land that would become the Kingdom of Labrina, Holodrum, the subterranean Subrosia that lay under Holodrum, many islands in the sea, and a large continent located far across the sea. The Light World was also connected to a parallel world that formed an enclosed space, called the Sacred Realm. The Triforce would return to the Sacred Realm if its separate pieces were brought together, but not claimed by anyone. The Triforce was also laid to rest in Hylia's realm, which in time became known as a Sacred Realm in its own right. The world the goddesses created was also home to many different beings, including those similar to themselves in the sense that they were part of the gods' tribe. Most notable of these was the goddess Hylia, who was the appointed guardian of the Triforce. She lived in Hylia's realm and had powers relating to time, while deities similar to her ruled over other parts of the light world, and seemed to be high up in the hierarchy of the gods' tribe. Ocean King, a whale-shaped deity, ruled over islands in the seas near Hylia's realm, and the spirits of good over the continent across the sea. Zonai, who are identified as part of the gods' tribe in Tears of the Kingdom, may also have been among the group or descended from deities like these. At some point, they went to live in the depths deep under the surface of the world. Spirits weighed down by regret, like the victims of great tragedies, would also sink to these depths, manifesting as foes. There, they were collected by stone beings called bargainers, whose purpose was to deliver them to the afterlife. They may be another part of the cosmic hierarchy, but it is unclear where exactly they would fit in. These ruler deities also had several minor deities serving them. Hylia had three elemental dragons named Eldin, Deneru, and Faron, whose names were derived from the golden goddesses. The Ocean King was served by the three servant spirits, Leaf, Neri, and Sila. Aside from these major deities, there were also many more minor deities who served as guardians of specific locations, or peoples, or were associated with certain elements or aspects of reality. A notable group within those more minor deities were the fairies, who had a hierarchy of their own. Normal fairies dwelled in groups in fairy fountains hidden across the land, above and underground, and sometimes in foliage on their own. It seems such fountains were filled with sacred water, around which fairies would congregate. Fairies could also heal other beings and sometimes served as companions to them. There were also great fairies, some of which were considered fairy queens, who had their own fountains with smaller fairies and could bestow great magic. Certain great fairies would also act as guardian deities of regions in their own right. The most powerful known fairy was the Queen of Fairies, who took the form of a child, but was much more powerful than the great fairies. Similar beings to fairies were the light spirits, who took the form of animals and safeguarded the light of the world. Similarly to great fairies, they dwelled in fountains with small fairies. Most of the creatures of the light world were mortals created by the golden goddesses, however, who were divided into different species. There were humans who possessed differing physical characteristics depending on their race. Some had round ears, while others had pointy ears. A notable group of humans were the Gerudo, who were all women except for a single man who was born every 100 years. A different ethnic group of humans also inhabited certain islands in the domain of the Ocean King, who were called the Cobble. Some of these people could also perform magic, which was often elemental and create magical objects, but it often required magic energy stored in bottles to do so. Aside from humans, there were the Gorons, rock people who were born of the earth and dwelled in volcanic areas. Male and female Gorons were also practically indistinguishable from each other, with Gorons themselves also referring to themselves with male or gender-neutral pronouns. There were also the Parella, aquatic creatures living under the protection of Faron, The Kikwi, forest-dwelling creatures blurring the line between flora and fauna. Mogmas, mole people who like to hunt for treasure. Subrosians, creatures from Subrosia who could withstand lava and whose true appearance is unknown due to wearing hoods. Tokay, lizard people from Crescent Island in what would become the Kingdom of Labrina. Zuna, cactus-like people inhabiting deserts. Anuki, humanoids with antlers from the Isle of Frost in the Ocean King's domain. And Yetis, who lived in snowy mountain regions. Finally, the Great Deku Tree would go on to create small tree spirits that were considered his children, Koroks like him, and they were accompanied by fairies. Koroks would also travel into the wider world to put down roots, around which forests with new tree spirits would appear, thus continuing the life cycle of the forest. The creation of the world, the Triforce, lesser deities, and mortals leads into the earliest era of the Light World, which seems to have been rather long. In general, this era was peaceful as Hylia kept watch over the Triforce. In this period, the ocean used to cover much of the land around Hylia's realm, per a map found in Skipper's Retreat in Skyward Sword when compared to the world map of that game. This may also be the source of the rock salt found in mineral deposits found in Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, indicating the ocean may at one point have covered most of the land of the world, before lowering. This ocean is also hinted to have housed great whales and sea serpents, which were able to travel between the submerged depths and the surface. Tears of the Kingdom, these are encountered as the three dark skeletons and the Gerudo great skeletons. Primitive creatures also presumably roamed the land in this era, like ammonites, dinosaurs and dondons, who were the ancestors of horses. These were not found in later eras and presumably went extinct at some point. A note on time travel. Before we begin on the direct backstory of Skyward Sword, it should be noted that the game's story makes use of time travel at certain key points. Fortunately, the time travel presented in the game is inconsistent. It seems the story goes for a closed loop at first, where characters who travel to the past have always done so, and time travel does not change the timeline. This is best exemplified by Impa in Skyward Sword, who appears in two time periods, in the distant past and in the present as an old woman. In present, she has a particular bracelet that is only given to her at the end of the game in the past after the final boss has been defeated. However, other parts of the game indicate that actions in the past do change the present. A chief example of this is Link moving the seedling of a tree from a location where it will wither to one where it will grow. First, the tree is dead in the present, but after Link moves the seedling, the tree is healthy and alive in a new location. Similar things happen during the final boss sequence, making the time travel internally inconsistent. In this video, I will try my best to make sense of this inconsistency and will operate under the assumption that ultimately a closed time loop is what was intended, thus assuming there will be no timeline splits going off from Skyward Sword. Hylia's realm was the land watched over by Hylia, and the land where the Triforce was laid to rest. The goddess had appointed different deities to watch over the various regions of her realm. Varon over the forests in the south and east, which became known as Varon Woods in the Varon province. She resided in caves near Lake Floria in the woods. She was a water dragon. Eldin became the guardian of the mountains in the north, one of which came to be called Eldin Volcano in the Eldin province. The eldest of the dragons, Leneru, became a guardian of the grasslands in the west, the Leneru province. Levias, a whale-like deity, was appointed as the warden of the skies above Hylia's realm. Hylia herself also built a temple in the woods to the south of the region, known as the Temple of Hylia. This land was also inhabited by some of the mortal species created by the Golden Goddesses. The Kikwis lived in Varon Woods in the Parella and Lake Floria, directly living alongside and serving Varon. The Mogmas would congregate around Eldin Volcano, where they often sought treasure. The currency in Hylia's realm and many other parts of the world were rupees, gemstones that came in different colors that denoted different values. There were also black rupees, which instead took away money. Rupees came from ore found in mountainous regions such as Eldin, which may be why the Mogmas frequented the region. Gorons, meanwhile, were also present in the region, being mostly wanderers with no known permanent place of residence. Humans also lived in Hylia's realm and revered the goddess as their patron deity. They were known to live in the ancient Varon Woods and seemingly lived in Eldin Volcano, as well as possibly other parts of the region. Both provinces had distinct architectural styles, the one in Faron incorporating statues of birds, fish, and general nature, while the ones in Eldin had more vibrant colors and incorporated dragon iconography, perhaps based on the dragon Eldin himself. The humans also built temples that were seemingly sites of worship dedicated to Hylia and other things. For example, Skyview Temple in the deep roots of Faron and the Earth Temple halfway up Eldin Volcano both contain sacred springs, Skyview Spring and Earth Spring, dedicated to Hylia. These springs had the same architectural style as the Temple of Hylia, while the main buildings were built in the styles of their respective provinces. The humans were divided in various families, each of which had a crest associated with them. The humans also incorporated the crests of their families into their various buildings. For example, Skyview Temple in the deep roots of Faron province bore the family crest of the later Kalin, indicating his family had a hand in the creation of the structure. The crest of the later Gepora and Zelda's plotline could also be found in locations associated with Hylia, such as within the Temple of Hylia. It also seems this era of humans knew a king, who may have been seated at the Fire Sanctuary on the top of Eldin Volcano, as references to a king were present in that building. Later, some humans dedicated themselves to being the chosen protectors of the goddess, and became called the Sheikah. Their symbol was an eye, which was based on the third eye of the Zonai, likely symbolized the divine sight of the goddess. They also left behind gossip stones across the land, which were buried underground until a tune was played on the goddess harp belonging to Hylia. Blessed butterflies would congregate around those spots. The grasslands in the Lanayru province were home to timeshift stones, which produced sustained temporal distortion fields when struck and were good energy sources. Due to this, large-scale mining operations were started in the province, likely by the humans, given the proportion of the buildings in the province were fit for humans, and those buildings also had text written in the writing system used by humans in later eras. Mining was done in the southern Lanayru Gorge, the domain of the Dragon Lanayru, and the western Lanayru mine. Harnessing of the energy of timeshift stones allowed for the creation of highly advanced civilization in the region. After mining, the stones were brought to the Lanayru mining facility to be processed into more refined stones, with portable timeshift orbs. Along with these large-scale mining operations, several lines of robots were also created. There were the humanoid LD-002 and LD-003 series, but also the mass-produced LD-301 series that more resembled clay figures. It's likely that the Dragon Lanayru aided in their creation, given the robots were subservient to him, and he liked to name things just like how the robots were named, implying he named them. The LD-301 series were put to work in the mines to find more timeshift stones, and came to work to maintain the structures in the province. Specialized security robots were also built to guard the various facilities in the province. Both the timeshift stones and robots were likely put in containers found all over the province. To the west of the Lanayru province extended a large sea, where a harbor was established. In the sea, a shipyard was also built where ships were made, along with a town where the workers of the yard lived. The ships and train tracks at the harbor likely provided the goods produced in the industrial district that the Lanayru province had become, to other regions and provinces. Peace reigned in the region, but it was not to last. Parallel to the light world was the underworld, a realm that was home to demons. This realm may have formed from the hatred that Null felt for the golden goddesses, how they had created the world, given that the demon king Demise shared a similar hatred for the gods. He in turn was the source of other demons, and likely of the dark substances Malice and Gloom, that were also capable of forming them. Of the two, Gloom was far more potent and could sap the life force of mortals away, but Malice was also damaging to the touch. Malice could also be produced by demons, particularly undead creatures that still harbored hatred towards the world, and so could dish out disarming curses. It was also likely that demon bodies were partially made out of it, as they held evil crystals and monster stones made of malice in their bodies in addition to their organs. Malice also acted as a sort of opposite to force in concept. Creatures of the world could be corrupted into demons via malice, and it was corrosive to them, but enough force could be used to turn demons into humans. One day, Demise and his army of demons made their way to the light world via a crack in the earth. This may have been facilitated by Null, who had been creating rifts in reality in an attempt to bring the world back to the void it was before creation. The golden goddesses counteracted this by creating the Tries, who were capable of dissipating the rifts by making copies of parts of the land that had been destroyed, called echoes, freeing people who had fallen into them. Demons may have arrived in the Light World via one of these rifts. Once they arrived, the demons started a campaign of destruction, burning down forests and murdering without hesitation. They did this in an attempt to obtain the Triforce, which Demise wished to use to reshape the world in his image. One where the strong triumphs over the weak and might made right. The humans did little to fight back, only praying to Hylia that she would protect them from the onslaught. Hylia answered these prayers eventually. To protect the Triforce, she hid its 3 pieces separately in a parallel plane known as the Silent Realm. Specifically, she put them in parts of the realm corresponding to the underground part of her temple, which lay hidden beneath a large statue depicting her. That part of the temple also came to be filled with many different puzzles, traps, and even some demons that acted as guards to the Triforce. A robot called Dreadfuse was likely created for this purpose as well. After the Triforce was hidden, Hylia cut that part of her temple out of the ground and sent it skyward. She also gathered the surviving humans on a crop of land and sent it into the sky as well. In time, that crop of land would be called Skyloft. More crops of land were sent up too, giving rise to various floating islands. To combat Demise, Hylia worked together with 6 individuals known as sages, of whom Hylia was likely the 7th member. These individuals had strong magical elemental powers, ties to elemental spirits, and could transform into fairies, tying them to the divine and the gods' tribe as mortals. The elemental powers were known to manifest physically in the world at times or be channeled into specifically designed weapons, particularly electricity, fire, ice, and light. It is possible gloom and malice are similarly physical manifestation of the element shadow. Their power could be passed down by blood, and certain elemental sages had their own symbols, particularly the elements of light, forest, fire, water, shadow, and spirit. Aside from this, there were also bloodlines that passed down magic powers related to earth, wind, and lightning. The elemental symbols were depicted in the Temple of Hylia, tying the sages to the goddess. These first sages worked to create the goddess sword, which Hylia wielded in the war against Demise. It's likely during this war that Hylia sealed away a god that took and gave force in exchange for stamina in a statue. She disapproved of these bargains. They also banded together with the Gorons, Kikwis, Mokmas, Parella, and the LD301 series to seal Demise under the ground where half of her temple had once stood, stripping him of his humanoid form. A sealing spike adorned with the symbols of the golden goddesses was also created to maintain the seal. The events of the war were subsequently painted on the cliffs near the place where Demise was sealed. However, it was clear that the seal would not last long after it was created. Hylia had been grievously wounded in the war, so she could not stop Demise if he was to break free again. Due to this, she devised plans to destroy Demise for good. She wanted to create a person who would be capable of wielding the full Triforce to get rid of Demise, and who would be her chosen hero. To do this, she set up trials for him to temper his character and to transform the goddess sword into a more powerful form. She created Phi, a being resembling fairies who came to inhabit the sword and who would guide the hero, as her memory banks were filled with useful information and messages from Hylia. The sword was placed in a hidden alcove inside the large statue of the goddess on Skyloft. Goddess cubes were also scattered across the land, which when activated would send energy up to chests in the sky, allowing them to be opened and the various treasures inside to be claimed. Similar to these were goddess walls, which dispensed treasure when drawn upon with force, and could only appear when the goddess harp was played. Earth statues were similarly scattered across the surface as waypoints for those traveling between the sky and the surface. One statue next to the Temple of Hylia could activate the others. They resembled loftwings, a common motif in the architecture related to Hylia. They were large birds that were the only ones to exist high up in the sky, as opposed to the smaller birds on the surface. Statues inside dungeons instead resembled an abstract version of Hylia. Hylia hid the key to the temple where the Triforce rested, which became known as the Sky Keep, in the Silent Realm of Skyloft. Its entrance could only be accessed if the soul of the hero was played, which Hylia split in 4 parts, entrusting 3 parts to the elemental dragons and the 4th to Levias. None of them were told where exactly the Triforce was hidden, likely to keep it out of the hands of evil. Hylia also gave 3 flames of the golden goddesses, flames imbued with a great deal of force, to the 3 elemental dragons to be passed on to the chosen hero when the time came. Each dragon hid their flame in a different location. Vahor's flame was hidden at the top of the ancient cistern, the temple dedicated to the worship of an idol which had a basement resembling the underworld where malice flowed freely. Din's flame was hidden in the back of the fire sanctuary. For Nehru's flame, a ship was created in the Nehru shipyard with a dedicated crew, led by LD-310 and Skipper. The ship could also become invisible in order to further protect Nehru's flame. Some members of the crew meanwhile lived in a building on the sea called Skipper's Retreat. Hylia also created trials for her heroes in the Silent Realm so he could obtain objects that would allow him to reach the flames. Gateways to these trials would only open if 3 songs named after the Golden Goddesses were played. Hylia hid in a building that was also sent skyward, and became known as the Isle of Songs. Skyloft, a building called the Light Tower, would point the way to the Isle, and clues on how to activate the tower were hidden in the lyrics of the Ballad of the Goddess. Likely by using her powers related to time, Hylia foresaw events that would take place thousands of years in the future, when her chosen hero would live. She prophesied that he would ride a red bird and so created a shield called the Hylian Shield emblazoned with the crest of such a bird. It was based on her own crest, which was likely styled after her own wings. That shield was entrusted to the dragon Nehru. To maintain the seal on Demise and to make sure her hero would be personally invested in carrying out his role in the plan, Hylia decided to give up her divine form and to reincarnate as a mortal in the far future. That incarnation would travel to the distant past to seal herself to maintain the seal, be friends with the hero so he would have a personal stake in destroying Demise to save her. To make sure time travel was possible, Hylia created 2 gates of time, one at her temple and one in the Temple of Time in the Nehru province. The existence of both was documented on a mural in the fire sanctuary. After all that was done, a cloud barrier was created to separate the lands in the earth and the sky. Pieces of a tablet were hidden on the Skyloft, in Skyview Temple, and in the Earth Temple that could create holes in the barrier when placed in the alcove inside the statue of the goddess on the Skyloft as well. Hylia would eventually pass on, and her servant Impa traveled to the future to find her mortal reincarnation Zelda. The 2 of them returned to the past, and Zelda sealed herself in a crystal to maintain the seal on Demise. His demons, now led by a spirit inhabiting his sword called Girahim, remained on the surface as well. They laid low and did not make themselves known to the protectors of the land. However, it does seem that the influence of their malice over time caused some of the creatures and plants of the Light World to be corrupted in their own right, becoming demons. Corpses of dead humans would also be revived as demons, likely by this same influence. It also seems that some robots like LD-002G Skirvo allied with the demons, as he became a captain of pirates. Skirvo established a pirate hideout far at sea, and his demon pirates likely attacked ships to steal their cargo. At one point the pirates targeted the ship holding Nehru's flame, wanting to claim it. They took over the ship, imprisoned the crew and threw Skipper overboard, holding their claim over the ship even as the sea around them turned to sand. As time went on, society on the surface and in the sky developed separately. The most notable development on the surface was the gradual climate change in Nehru province. Mining operations continued there, but over time the grasslands turned to desert and the sea into a large pool of quicksand. This was happening, Nehru fell ill, and so the LD-301 series planted a life tree seedling, hoping its fruit would eventually cure him. However, the tree took centuries to mature and the soil in the Nehru province was not well suited to growing trees. As such, Nehru died before he could be cured. The desertification of Nehru province eventually also finished, leaving it the Nehru desert, with the robots within it decaying, many of the demons in it only leaving their skeletons behind. It was still home to various hardy creatures afterwards, however, some of which could live for thousands of years. It also came to be inhabited by Gerudo dragonflies, who like the Gerudo people lived in the desert, likely indicating that the term Gerudo had something to do with the desert. In the sky, the humans built their own civilization, as well as on some of the surrounding islands. They bonded with the Loftwings, who were considered a blessing from Hylia. Each human had a Loftwing companion, whom they met as children under the statue of the goddess. The humans used the Loftwings to fly around the sky, but only during the daytime, as Loftwings did not come out at night. Most of the families on Skyloft lived in the eastern residential district, and at some point, the bazaar was established in the middle of the island. There, various merchants came together to sell their wares. One of them was the owner of a LD-301 series that was nicknamed Scrapper, who was capable of reaching the surface. One time, an owner of Scrapper used this to retrieve a crystal ball from the front of the Earth Temple for someone else. That person used the ball to become a fortune teller. Skyloft was also home to Batro, a friendly demon who lived in a hidden house on the side of the island. He did not show himself because he thought others would fear him, and his presence caused demons to appear on Skyloft at night, as well as causing the pet remnants of the people to become aggressive. As millennia passed, the surface became an obscure legend on Skyloft, and it became common opinion that there was nothing beneath the clouds. The existence of the Goddess Sword and the alcove containing it were kept secret, only told to a few each generation, along with words saying it would one day be claimed by a youth when great calamity would awaken. At some point, as the time for the chosen hero to go on his quest drew relatively near, a Knight Academy was established on Skyloft. There, youths were trained in the art of swordplay and loftwing riding to become knights who protected the sky. They lived at the academy and received lectures there, while training their swordplay at the nearby sparring hall. Junior students would compete in the annual wing ceremony, where they needed to retrieve a bird statuette from a bird while flying through the sky. The student who grabbed the statuette first would graduate to become a senior student and receive a knight uniform, the color of which was changed each year. The headmaster of the academy was Gaepora, while instructors included Horwell and Aulen. Aegis was the knight commander and in charge of the sparring hall as well. Some of those graduating from the academy worked as rescue knights, saved people who fell off Skyloft. In the skies near Skyloft, there was Pumpkin Landing, which housed a bar called the Lumpy Pumpkin. It was run by Pump for over a decade and his daughter Kina, who sang to patrons and harvested pumpkins. The bar mainly served pumpkin soup, which was made without milk as there were no animals to provide it in the sky. Every year, the bar would provide Levias with an offering of pumpkin soup at an island with an eternal rainbow. Dodo also finished creating Fun Fun Island, where he operated his high dive game around the time of the Knight Academy's 25th anniversary. At that time, there lived various families on Skyloft, some of whom worked as merchants and some studied as students at the Knight Academy. Among those were Link, who was to become the chosen hero, and Zelda, the mortal reincarnation of Hylia. They were close childhood friends, much to the chagrin of Bruce, who had a crush on Zelda and his gang of bullies. Due to this, they hid Link's Crimson Loftwing on the day when the ring ceremony was about to happen. Zelda arranged for Link to wake up early that day for some extra training. She thought he had been slacking off. It was during that they discovered Link's Loftwing had gone missing. It was arranged that the ceremony would be delayed for this reason, as Link had Horwell, who oversaw it that year, speak with Gaepora. Link eventually found his Loftwing and freed it with the sword he borrowed from the sparring hall, after which he went on to win the ceremony, despite Bruce's cheating. For the competition, Link and Zelda performed the ceremony part, with Zelda playing the role of the goddess and Link that of her chosen knight. Link received the silk cloth that Zelda had made for this, and successfully jumped off the statue of the goddess. The two then spent some time alone together in the sky, before a black tornado summoned by Girahim whisked Zelda to the surface. Link was also caught in the storm and rolled back to Skyloft unconsciously by his Loftwing. That night, Link explained the situation to Gaepora and was beckoned by Fi, who led him to the Goddess Sword. He claimed it, after which Gaepora found him and explained some of the relevant legends to him, along with Fi. Part of the ancient tablet was also placed in its proper place, opening a gateway to the surface. Next day, Link was given his Green Knight uniform and set out to find Zelda. The first place he landed were the sealed grounds at the Sealed Temple, how the Temple of Hylia had become known in this era. There he was greeted by the Old One, who was actually Impa of this era. She had also met Zelda when she came to the surface and pointed her to Skyview Temple to pray in the Skyview Spring, start unlocking the memories of her previous life. Link followed this trail and met the Goron archaeologist Gorko, one of the few wandering the surface. While in woods, he helped the Kiku elder Butcha to gather his Kikuis, who had hidden due to demons appearing in the area. When he came to Skyview Temple, he fought Girahim for the first time, and due to that, just missed Zelda. She had used magic to teleport to Eldin Volcano, while Link claimed the second piece of the ancient tablet to open the way there as well. At the volcano, Zelda made her way to the front door of the Earth Temple. She was captured by demons who had followed her to Eldin. She was subsequently imprisoned within the Earth Temple. Zelda was also followed by Link and Impa from the past, the former of whom got to her first and freed her. Zelda also created the Earth Spring, while Link had to fight the demons Caldera after Girahim once again held him up. When he reached the spring, Impa chastised him for being late and used magic to teleport her and Zelda to Lineru Desert. After obtaining the final piece of the ancient tablet, Link followed them there as well. Impa and Zelda went to the Temple of Time and blew up its entrance, forcing Link to take a lengthy detour, powered up 3 power generators to make the entrance to Lineru mining facility appear, and went through its innards. When he arrived at the temple, Zelda and Impa were about to go through the Gate of Time. Girahim then appeared and cut off Link, before attacking Impa. Zelda threw her goddess harp to Link and fled through the Gate of Time. Girahim then defeated Impa, but the barrier he had erected weakened, and Link used the opportunity to stand against him. Impa then fled through the Gate of Time and destroyed it, forcing Girahim to retreat. At Impa's urging, Link returned to the Seal Temple and was followed by Groose. He tried to play the hero and take Link's place, while Link used the harp to reveal the second Gate of Time. It was dormant and could only be awoken with the strike of divine force from the Golden Sword's final form. The appearance of the Gate of Time caused the Seal and Demise to weaken, however, and he broke free in the form of the imprisoned. Link managed to defeat and reseal him, which secretly impressed Groose but also drove him to despair, as he now realized it was not his place to save Zelda. Link meanwhile went on a quest to find the 3 sacred flames and returned to Skyloft to investigate the lyrics of the Ballad of the Goddess. This led him to 2 windmills, one was broken due to a propeller having fallen to the surface. To retrieve it, Link had Gondo restore Scrapper, which had fallen into disrepair, by giving him oil from ancient flowers from Lineru. After the windmill was fixed, the 2 of them were turned towards the light tower, revealing its hidden top. There, Link played the ballad, revealing a piercing light to the Isle of Songs. The isle lay in a region of the sky that had been covered in a large thunderhead recently. The light allowed Link to visit the isle. He learned Farore's courage there and braved the first Silent Realm trial. In those trials, Link's spirit was separated from his body, and he had to gather tears to test the limits of his courage, power and wisdom. Concretely, he had to gather 15 tears into a vessel representing his spirit while avoiding guardians and watchers that would wake them up. After clearing the first Silent Realm trial, he was given a scale of the Water Dragon. He then scaled the Great Tree and learned from the Kikwi hermit Yerbal that it was guarded by Faron. Link thus made for Lake Floria and swam in its nearby caves, where he was brought to Faron by her Perella attendant Jelif. Faron had been injured due to an attack from Girahim and his demons, who had also left several monstrous craniacs behind in the caves. Faron had been confined to a basin filled with sacred water to heal her wounds, but its healing properties had run out. To test, Faron sent Link to get more sacred water, which he got from Skyview Spring. Faron then allowed Link to enter the ancient cistern, where he overcame its trials and did battle with the guardian robot Coloctos, which had been filled with malice by Girahim. Afterwards, Link tempered the Golden Sword in Farore's flame, turning it into the Goddess Longsword. It was now longer and could deal twice as much damage. Link returned to the Isle of Songs to learn Nehru's wisdom, and used it to enter the second Silent Realm trial at Lineru Desert. This earned him claw shots with which he could reach the harbor at the Lineru Sand Sea, where he met Skipper. He had a small boat with a timeshift stone that allowed him to exist in the present in a manner of speaking, and the 2 started to search for the sand ship that held Nehru's flame. They first visited Skipper's retreat to get the map of the sea, as it has been thousands of years ago, and then the shipyard for clues as to the ship's whereabouts. When that did not pay off, they visited the pirate stronghold and discovered broken masts that had belonged to the sand ship, allowing Fi to trail its location. Link then shot bombs at the ship when they were near it, forcing it to drop its cloak and allowing him to board it. Link defeated Skirvo, who still lurked on the ship after all this time, and freed Skipper's crew with the help of a timeshift stone mounted to the ship. He then tried to open the way to Nehru's flame, but the ship was attacked and wrecked by a massive creature known as Tantalus as he did so. Link defeated it and revealed Nehru's flame afterwards, tempering the Goddess Longsword in it. This created the Goddess White Sword, which allowed Fi to track more different things at once than before. The final song from the Isle of Songs was Din's Power, and Link used it to enter the Silent Realm trial at Elden Volcano. This granted him Fire Shield earrings, with which he could enter the hot caves at the top of the volcano and reach the Fire Sanctuary. Its entrance was guarded by flamethrowers that could only turn off if water was poured on nearby frog statues. Small bottles of water sufficed for the first 2, the third one was larger. This forced Link to retrieve Falon's water basin with the help of Scrapper and bring it up the mountain, allowing him to enter the sanctuary afterwards. There, he helped out some Mogmas who were treasure hunting in the sanctuary, gotten stuck in traps. Hylia was also in the sanctuary and had learned of the second gate of time from its mural, but was unsure of its location. He and Link did battle for a second time, after which Link found Din's flame. He tempered his sword again, creating the Master Sword and imbuing it with the power to repel evil, though it still lay dormant. After having created the Master Sword, Link returned to the sealed grounds and fought the imprisoned a second time because it awoke when Link was about to activate the Gate of Time. He was aided by Groose, who had built a crucinator around the grounds, a large mobile catapult that would fire large bombs at the imprisoned to stun it. After it was resealed, the Gate of Time was activated and Link went to the distant past. There he spoke with Zelda, who explained Hylia's plans and blessed the Master Sword to awaken its power to repel evil, making it the true Master Sword. She also asked Link to find the Triforce to vanquish Demise, telling him to look in Skyloft before sealing herself in the crystal. Afterwards, Link thus went to Skyloft in the present and was told by Gebora to seek out Levias, who had an encyclopedic knowledge of the world. He learned from Aulen that Levias had not been himself lately and grown violent, but still wanted to seek him out. Aulen thus taught Link the advanced spiral charge technique, Loft Wing attack, to prepare him, and told him that the lumpy pumpkin had not made its yearly offering of pumpkin soup yet. Link thus had Pum make the soup and brought it to the regular offering place, causing Levias to appear. He had been infected with the demonic Bilocyte parasite, which Link purged from him. Afterwards, Levias told Link about the soul of the hero, and Link went back to the surface to find the 3 parts held by the elemental dragons. In Falon province, Falon had flooded the woods to get rid of the demons infesting it. This forced Impa to close the gates to the woods and to place a magic seal on the path to prevent the sealed grounds from flooding. After fighting and resealing the imprisoned a third time, Link was shot into Falon woods with the crucinator. There, he collected tad tones set down by Falon into the flood waters as a trial, and together they spelled out the first part of the soul of the hero. Falon also decided to let the waters recede afterwards. Eldin province, an eruption of Eldin's power caused the volcano to erupt, and Link to be thrown off course as he descended into the province from the sky. He was captured and separated from all his gear by bokoblins. The Mogma Platz retrieved his digging Mogma gloves for him. This allowed Link to dig out of his cell and stealthily make his way around Eldin volcano, retrieving his lost gear. He then met Eldin at the volcano summit and learned another part of the soul of the hero. In Lineru province, Link made his way to Lineru Gorge and found the corpse of Lineru. From it, he got a key and had to maneuver a cart with timeshift stones in it around the gorge to get it near Lineru. This allowed Link to meet the ill Lineru in the past and to obtain the life tree seedling planted nearby. He then went through the Gate of Time at the Sealed Temple, planted the seedling in the past, allowing it to grow into a full life tree by the present, complete with the fruit. Link brought that back to Lineru, curing him of his ailment. Lineru then taught Link the third part of the soul of the hero, and Link went through Lineru's lightning round to get the Hylian shield. At various points during all this questing, Link also helped out the people of Skyloft by doing various tasks. Most notably, Link worked to gather gratitude crystals from those people after going looking for the missing Kukriel. He found her at Batro's house and started working to fulfill his wish to become a human afterwards by gathering the crystals. Once he had found 80, Batro was turned human and became a proper member of Skyloft's society. At some point, Link also broke the chandelier in the lumpy pumpkin, and to perform various tasks afterward to pay for the damage, including delivering pumpkin soup, helping with the pumpkin harvest, and playing the harp while Kina sang for guests, or singing Headwit. After learning the 3 parts of the soul of the hero, Link returned to Levias to learn the final part. He then played the entire song at Skyloft's Plaza, opening the final Silent Realm. After overcoming that trial, Link obtained the Stone of Trials, which he put in a Loftwing statue on Skyloft. The statue then shot out a cannonball, revealing the Sky Keep. Link went inside and braved its trials before obtaining the Triforce of Courage, Power and Wisdom. When he had obtained the full thing, he was allowed to make a wish, as his adventuring had made him worthy to do so, per Hylia's plan. He prayed to the Triforce and wished for Demise's eradication, causing the Isle of the Goddess to fall back to the surface, crushing the imprisoned. This freed Zelda from her crystal in the present, but just as it seemed everything was over, Hylia intervened. He took Zelda through the Gate of Time and started the ritual to revive Demise in the past, likely getting rid of the ceiling spike in the process. Link chased him and battled his way through hordes of demons that Girahim had summoned. He then fought Girahim himself a final time and defeated him, but the ritual had completed during the fight. The imprisoned was freed and absorbed Zelda's soul, after which Groose caught her body. This revived Demise and he returned Girahim to his original form as a sword. Demise was amused at Link's and Groose's resolve to stand against him, and so allowed Link to fight him in a world belonging to his demons, where they would not be bothered by distractions. Groose meanwhile took Zelda to the back room of the Temple of Hylia to rest, as if Link could defeat Demise soon enough, he would not be able to absorb Zelda's soul completely. Link confronted Demise in this world, and the two had a sword fight, but Link prevailed in the end, striking him with the lightning-charged fatal blow. This meant the end of Demise, but not the end of demons. With his dying breath, Demise mentioned the cyclical curse that would forever follow those like Link with the spirit of the hero, and those like Zelda with the blood of the goddess. Incarnation of his hatred, future Demon King, follow them, as would the Demon Tribe, their mutual hatred likely always giving rights to each other for the rest of time. Despite this, Demise's residual consciousness was absorbed in the Master Sword, and it was laid to rest in the Temple of Hylia, after Fi said goodbye to Link, as her function had been fulfilled and was to rest eternally. Zelda was also restored and gave a bracelet to Impa in the past, after which those who belonged in the present went back there. Young Impa destroyed the Gate of Time on her end, while old Impa passed on in Zelda's arms in the present. Actions of Link in the past had altered the past and the present, but the Triforce and the Isle of the Goddess still remained on the surface in that altered present. Master Sword continued to rest in the Sealed Temple. Eventually, Gaebora came to find Link and Zelda. Groose returned to Skyloft with his friends, but Link and Zelda decided to remain on the surface together, to watch over the Triforce and to ensure that it would be erased from mortal history once again, per the decree of Hylia herself. This would eventually lead into the founding of Hyrule and would mark the beginning of a cyclical history, per the words of Demise. Demons, in the form of beings native to the light world that were corrupted by malice, continue to stick around after all. In the end, Skyward Sword is a tale of beginnings that leads into more. That is a story for the next time, as the birth and earliest history of the Kingdom of Hyrule are examined. Goodbye!